I used to believe love was something you proved by enduring, by staying when it was uncomfortable, by trusting when doubt whispered in the dark, by convincing yourself that silence meant peace, not neglect. I was that woman, the kind who learned his moods before learning her own, who woke up early just to make sure his coffee tasted exactly the way he liked it, who folded his clothes with care, even when my hands were tired and my heart felt heavier than the laundry basket. Everyone said I was lucky. He's a good man. They'd say he works hard, he provides. And I believed them because I wanted to. When he started coming home late, I told myself it was ambition. When he stopped holding my hand in public, I told myself love matured into quiet understanding. When he laughed at his phone but barely smiled at me, I blamed stress. I blamed everything except the truth. There were signs, God, there were so many signs. His phone never left his hand anymore. It slept face down like it was hiding secrets even while he slept. Passwords changed. Conversations ended the moment I entered the room. Still, I stayed soft. Still, I defended him to his family. Marriage isn't perfect. I told his mother once when she asked if everything was okay. We're just busy. She smiled at me, proud. You're a good wife. That sentence stayed with me longer than it should have. The night everything changed didn't come with thunder or screaming. It came quietly, disguised as an ordinary evening. He kissed my forehead, told me he had a last-minute business trip, and asked me to pack his bag. I did, carefully. I folded his favorite shirt, slipped in the watch I gifted him on our anniversary. Even added a handwritten note, "Come back safe, I love you." I don't know why I stayed up after he left. Maybe my heart already knew something my mind refused to accept. Around midnight, his phone buzzed. It was on the table, unlocked. I stared at it for a long time. I told myself not to touch it. I told myself trust meant restraint. I told myself that good wives didn't invade privacy, but curiosity isn't betrayal, fear is. I picked it up. One message, that was all it took to break years of belief. Room 804 is ready, face, woman. I read it again and again, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something harmless. They didn't. Room 804. Not a meeting room, not a conference hall. A room with a door that locked. A bed that remembered bodies. A space where promises went to die. My hands shook, but my eyes stayed dry. Shock does that. It freezes tears until later. Suddenly, every excuse I'd made for him lined up in my head like liars caught in the same room. The late nights. The sudden trips, the emotional distance, the silence where affection used to live. I sat down slowly, like my body had aged 10 years in 1 minute. I thought about all the times I chose him over myself, all the moments I stayed quiet so he could stay comfortable, all the love I poured into someone who had already stepped outside our marriage, and for the first time I didn't feel weak. I felt awake. Room 804 wasn't just a number. It was the door to the truth. And once opened, nothing would ever be the same. He left before sunrise, rolling his suitcase across the floor as if the sound wouldn't echo inside me. I stood in the doorway, wrapped in a thin robe, watching the man I married move through our home like a guest who no longer belonged there. 3 days, he said casually, "I'll call." I nodded, smiled even. I had learned how to perform normalcy with frightening skill. The door closed behind him, and the house exhaled into silence. I didn't cry, not then. I made the bed, washed the dishes, went through the motions like a woman who hadn't just watched her life split in half. But the number followed me everywhere, 804. It clung to my thoughts like a stain that wouldn't wash out. By afternoon I had the address, the Royal Crescent Hotel, elegant, discreet, the kind of place people chose when they wanted to hide in plain sight. I didn't dress for confrontation, no dramatic makeup, no angry tears. I wore something simple, almost invisible. Pain didn't drive me there. Clarity did. I parked across the street and waited. The hotel doors opened and swallowed people, whole businessmen, couples, tourists. Then I saw him, my husband. He wasn't alone. She walked beside him like she belonged there. Her hand brushed his arm, familiar and effortless. She laughed at something he whispered, tilting her head back like she trusted him completely. That hurt more than I expected. Not the fact that he was cheating, but how easy he looked doing it. They disappeared inside. I sat frozen, my fingers digging into the steering wheel. My chest burned, but my mind stayed frighteningly calm. I realized then that rage would only give him power. Silence, on the other hand, could dismantle everything. I took out my phone. His mother answered on the second ring. "Mom," my voice surprised me. It didn't shake. "Yes, dear, is everything all right?" I closed my eyes for a moment. This was the woman who once told me she prayed for a daughter like me. The woman who said loyalty was the backbone of marriage. "No," I said softly, "everything isn't." There was a pause, then concern. "What happened?" "He's at the Royal Crescent Hotel," I said. "Room 804. Another silence, longer this time. I imagined her sitting down, the truth pressing into her chest the way it had into mine. "Are you sure?" she asked, though I knew she already believed me. "I saw him go in," I replied. "He wasn't alone." Her breath hitched. When she spoke again, her voice was different, steady, sharp, resolved. "Stay where you are," she said. "I'm calling his brother." I didn't tell her I wasn't planning to go inside, that I didn't want to be seen. This wasn't about catching him. It was about exposure. I watched the building as evening settled in, lights glowing behind glass windows like secrets, illuminated too late. Somewhere in that hotel, he was laughing, unaware that the ground beneath him was already cracking. I imagined him in that room 804, the bed, the stolen kisses, the lies spoken easily because he thought no one was listening. He had no idea that love, once broken, becomes something far more dangerous than anger. It becomes precise. I turned off my engine when I saw familiar cars pull into the hotel lot. His family, faces set in stone. Purpose in every step. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. The door to room 804 was about to open. And when it did, his life would never close the same way again. The elevator ride to the 8th floor felt longer than any of them expected. His mother stood at the center, her hands folded tightly in front of her, lips pressed into a thin line. His older brother leaned against the wall, jaw clenched, saying nothing. An aunt stood near the door, arms crossed, eyes sharp with a disappointment that had been waiting years for proof. No one spoke. The number 8 blinked above them like a warning. When the doors slid open, the hallway was quiet, too quiet. The carpet softened their footsteps, but every step felt loud, final. Room numbers passed one by one until they stopped. 804. His mother raised her hand and knocked. Inside, laughter cut off abruptly. The door opened halfway. He stood there barefoot, shirt unbuttoned, confidence still clinging to him, until he saw who was standing outside. The color drained from his face. "Mom," he whispered. "What are you doing here?" Behind him, the room told the rest of the story. 2 glasses on the table. A woman's heels by the bed. Perfume thick in the air. The mistress appeared at his side, wrapped in the hotel robe, confusion turning into panic the moment she realized this wasn't a business meeting gone wrong. "What is this?" she asked. His mother stepped forward, pushing the door open wider. Her eyes moved slowly, deliberately, taking in every detail. "The mess, the intimacy, the lies made visible. So this is your business trip," she said calmly. He stammered, words tripping over each other. "It's not. This isn't what it looks like." His brother cut him off. "Then what does it look like?" Silence swallowed the hallway. The mistress hugged the robe tighter around herself. "I didn't know he was married," she said quickly, though no one had asked. His mother finally looked at her. "Ignorance doesn't make it innocent," she replied. Then her gaze returned to her son, harder than anything he'd ever faced. "You humiliated your wife," she said. "You humiliated this family." Her voice never rose. It didn't need to. Guests peeked out from neighboring rooms, drawn by the tension. Staff lingered at the end of the hall, pretending not to watch while watching everything. He dropped to his knees, not out of remorse, but fear. "I made a mistake," he pleaded. "Please don't tell her, I'll fix this." His mother shook her head slowly. "A mistake is forgetting a birthday," she said. "This is betrayal." The mistress began to cry, mascara streaking down her face. "I can leave," she said. "I'll go." "Do," the aunt replied sharply. The woman grabbed her bag and fled down the hallway, heels in hand, shame trailing behind her like a shadow. He reached for his mother's legs. She stepped back. "Stand up," she said. "You look smaller than you ever have." He stood, shaking. "I raised you better than this," she continued. "And if I didn't, then that failure is mine too. But the consequences are yours alone." His brother spoke for the first time since arriving. "I'm calling your wife," he said. "She deserves to hear this from family, not rumors." "No," he cried. But it was already done. The hotel manager approached carefully, apologizing, asking them to lower their voices. His mother nodded, dignified even now. "We're leaving," she said. Then, to her son, "You're not coming with us." They turned away as a group, leaving him standing in the open doorway of room 804, exposed, stripped of excuses. The door closed slowly behind them, and for the first time he understood what it meant to lose everything in a single moment. I didn't answer my phone when it rang that night. I already knew. The house was calm in a way it hadn't been for years, like it was finally aligned with the truth. I made myself tea and sat by the window, watching the city lights blink on one by one. Somewhere across town, his world was collapsing, and for the first time, it wasn't my job to hold it together. When he came home near dawn, I heard his keys fumble at the door. The man who entered looked nothing like the husband who had left days earlier. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes swollen and red, his confidence stripped down to nothing. "I made a mistake," he said, voice hoarse. It didn't mean anything. I looked at him for a long moment. I searched for the man I once loved, the one I defended, the one I believed in when belief cost me pieces of myself. I couldn't find him, no. I said quietly, "You made a choice, and you made it every day you lied." He tried to move closer. I stepped back. I would have forgiven almost anything. I continued, "But you didn't just betray me. You humiliated me. You risked my dignity and expected my silence." Tears spilled down his face. He reached for my hands, but I folded them into myself. "I packed your things," I said, "there by the door." That broke him. His voice cracked as he begged, promises tumbling out, desperate and empty. Therapy, change, time, God. He offered me everything he should have given before he broke us. I listened. Then I shook my head. "I'm done being your lesson," I said. "You don't get to learn at my expense." He left quietly, dragging his suitcase behind him like a punishment he finally understood. The days that followed were strangely gentle. His family called not to pressure me, but to apologize. His mother cried. She told me she loved me, that she would never defend what he did. She told me she was proud of how I handled it. That meant more than revenge ever could. The rumors spread quickly. People noticed his absence. His reputation, once carefully polished, cracked under the weight of truth. The mistress vanished from his life as suddenly as she had entered it. No one wanted a man who betrayed his wife so publicly. He tried to call me again weeks later. I didn't answer. Healing didn't come all at once. Some nights, the grief still showed up uninvited. But it no longer owned me. I filled my time with things I had postponed: friends, laughter, mornings that belonged only to me. I started sleeping deeply. That was my victory. I learned that revenge doesn't have to scream or destroy. Sometimes it's choosing yourself so completely that the person who broke you realizes they never deserved access to you at all. Room 804 became a story people whispered about, but I became something else entirely, free,